Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is Alex R. ASMR, and today I want to talk about a syllabus, making a syllabus for learning, and ideally gaining some meaning, because what is learning without meaning? Speaking of which, I have found that a syllabus of any kind, personal or when I was in school, to be useless if I did not care, and I would not care because I don't feel a sense of meaning. I don't feel like it's connected to anything. So I want to talk about this structure of a syllabus that focuses on meaning. This is a way of living, or choosing to live, or choosing to interact with your own life. And that's the point. So I'll show you what I mean as I talk about my structure of learning. But that's the main point, is that this is a choice of how to live, as opposed to a list of topics to learn about that are based on some ideal or some other external thing. This is a syllabus for living and the way that I organize my information. So this will be heavily based on meaning. So let's talk about it. The first place that I'm going to start on this Canva, I'm going to draw for you a little bit, or write, is when I think about the core of being, the heart of being. I was born in a small town. I was born just like everyone else in a life that is material, and my concerns are material. My parents, my world. As I got older, one of the first sensations outside the material I was aware of was the will. Maybe this is because self-awareness creeps in at a certain point. The will. Okay, and that was the first sense of something outside of myself, is the will of me, the will of the universe, some sense of the beyond. And it was a very haunted feeling. The first author I really fell in love with was H.P. Lovecraft. That's the train coming through. I was H.P. Lovecraft. So my first sense of, I think, the scope and scale of the universe beyond me was will, and as we will see, it was kind of a horror. So this is the existential stage in which my life is going to play out, in which I'm a person. I was born in the material world, and yet my own will is going to be frustrated over and over and over again by these external forces of this thing which we call culture and society that I don't understand. Where does any of those consequences come from? Well, they come from history. Everything that's occurring now is parts of a big web. And so that makes me intensely curious, because I'm curious about my own experience of being incredibly frustrated and baffled and bamboozled by this thing that we call life and reality. So my life's the fire in me that is lit, the fire of my curiosity consumes widely. It's trying to understand what's going on. That's the basis of the syllabus. my curiosity is the meaning of my own life. So the first thing that I got very, very curious about was the will. And this led me to read a few things, but specifically Nietzsche, but also existentialist theologians like Paul Tillich. I've talked about these two before. They changed my life. Interesting combination. Also Nietzsche and a theologian. But so probably step one on my syllabus of learning is and has been Germany. I know. Who would have thunk? Germany. From my exposure in the world of ideas, this is where it is. German philosophy, right? So in the Germany thing, you've got Nietzsche. Okay. German philosophy, right? And a whole lineage of thinking. Is it better if I use my trackpad? Kinda. Oh man, I can't write. Philosophy. Nietzsche. Philosophy. Dark. Kind of. Oh my gosh. Romantic imagery, right? So here's this kind of Germany. We have Bach, Beethoven, Wagner, and it's this kind of epicness also over here, despite it was written by Tolkien, is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. Why? Because this is a highly dramatic story where all of the world's power, all this power, is concentrated into this gold ring, this kind of item of desire, this portal, this thing that gives power to the will. So, in all of these things, there's a kind of dark horror, quite existential. This was my first stop, I think, really intellectually as an angsty young person. And it's where I still am today. Even though I've transformed in my life, I'm still here. And I am obsessed with thinking about power, of existentialism. So I like to explore here. Now, this connects to a high amount of interest that I have in inner life. So it makes sense that maybe if you're interested in philosophy or existentialism, you're probably going to be interested in the nature of inner experience. And that opens up a lot of doors. So let's go ahead and write inner life. And I'm writing in cursive just to not make a bunch of mouse sounds. Boom. So you can already see that things are connecting to me. And in my syllabus already is Nietzsche. I still read Nietzsche. I still read widely in German philosophy. My interest in Germany and German thought, philosophical thought, German history, and my interest in inner life combine into my obsession with reading about the Nazis. One step beyond this, from inner life to the Nazis, is the idea that emotions manifest as politics. How inner life manifests as culture, but also politics. Okay? So in my syllabus, like, to be honest with you, if I put Latin on my syllabus, even though I would love to know Latin, realistically, am I going to follow the syllabus? No, I'm not. It has to be plugged into this map of meaning. So, I'm very interested in how inner life is translated into the world of culture and politics. So in this arena, there's all kinds of places I can go. And I've watched World War II in color. That's on YouTube. You can watch that. World War II in color. Which has got just a fascinating overview of the history. I recently read Hitler's People, the book. And then I'm also interested in the Nazi obsession with modernism, or eliminating modernism from the world. Okay, and here I'm gonna say Bauhaus. Bauhaus. I'm going to I'll say James Joyce. And James Joyce being more like a symbol for being more of a symbol for a kind of change in like the nature of the way that people have been writing. So, and then queer history, how queer history intersects with modernism. So, I'm just kind of making my map for you. Okay, speaking of Nazis, that we have to draw a line over here, because then I've become very, very interested in all of Central and Eastern Europe. So I'm going to put Poland here specifically. I'm very interested in Poland, including their rich literary and literary history, Polish literature, which includes, of course, Olga Tokarczuk. And you have to forgive me, there's two poets who I cannot pronounce their names. Okay, because I couldn't pronounce their names, I had to paste them here as texts. But yes, Polish poetry. These two, I have nowhere near exhausted their bodies of work, so they are on my syllabus. And they have immense meaning to me because of their very sharp powers of observation. They really observe the world well, and write very well. So I've got Poland, but I wanted to write Central and Eastern Europe. I was able to watch a Romanian film that was wonderful. It was called Continental 25, and this was directed by Radu Jude. And so now he is on my syllabus to catch his other films. Continental 25 does a fantastic job of talking about guilt and feeling like, how to be responsible for hardship in the world, and how to, if it's possible, to alleviate the feeling of like doing more, doing more. Also on here is the book that I read, Hearst 07769. This is by Laszlo Krasnohorkai, and this would be a German, oh my gosh, I can't write in this thing, a German setting, Hungarian author. So you can see, again, I should have made horror bigger, but I'm pretty much drawn thematically to the way in which history and culture is mediated by geography. So it seems to be a natural way that I'm drawn to things, which is by countries and through history. And so through history, I am able to get in touch with contemporary culture that talks about history, that is contextualized by history. I knew that any syllabus will need to be organic and need to be based around countries, centered beginning all the way around Will, becoming interested at a young age in Germany, German history, and the inner life of people that led me to the Nazis, which for me became the prime example of how inner life translates to cultural and political life, has led me to the world of literature and art to show in an artistic way through their writing, or through the case of film, Continental 25, this tension between the inner life and the outer life. Now, in a more conscious way, I have a lot on my reading list for inner life that has included ideas of the false self, persona. I've talked about some of this on this channel. Deviance. I'm putting Carl Jung, and Freud on this list, as well as esotericism and alchemy being inner life manifested as magic. All of this being a kind of dark, gothic, mythic image-based worldview. What a mess. Okay. So, on my syllabus is to find, I don't know what it is, anything and everything that fits this map. It does include specifics, so I would like to see the rest of the work of Radujud, the film director. I would like to read the entire works of the authors on this list. I would like to know more about modernism, about Bauhaus, but I would also always like to know more about the German romantic movement in art, and the German movement for idealism in philosophy and culture. On a thematic level, the angle of horror and existentialism. I'm also very interested in pessimism, so Schopenhauer, nihilism. I didn't know how to pronounce this guy there, Emil. I don't know how to pronounce that, but for nihilism and Schopenhauer for pessimism. I don't know as much about these two as I could, so they're on my syllabus. Because again, these are kind of the worldview, philosophical concepts about horror, but also in a fun way, because I'm very interested in these kinds of things. I'm very interested in war. I've seen a lot of that. I'm very interested in the night, darkness, and I'm very interested in the kind of the unconscious that connects down here to Jung and stuff, the mythic. But I'm interested in like the unconscious and being as it relates to nature, which would be, let's put some names here. So for the unconscious in nature, I want to continue to explore the works of Donna Haraway. For nighttime, I have some books about just life at night, which are on my syllabus list. And then for or I have a bunch of history books on my syllabus. And of course, when I read about war, I will have my eye on aforementioned dynamics such as the inner life, the role of inner life of a population, and how that relates to cultural and political life. It's important to know that my syllabus is literally in this kind of networked form. It doesn't have modules that follow a linear order because I can't consume things that way. So I might consume a book about Nazi Germany, and then I might watch a Red Jude film, and then I might read something by Schopenhauer, or I might try and go see some type of thing related to Bach or Beethoven. It depends on money, and it depends on life, the forces of life. So, for example, I saw Continental 25 because it was playing at a theater here, and I wanted to spend some money to go see a film. I didn't know anything about the film. I just went in there, and it was an amazing experience. So life kind of gave me that opportunity. And I have found that building a syllabus that's very structured and very rigid often doesn't work because I'm not following something organically as I'm alive. So this syllabus is more like a mind map of my psyche, and I'm able to explore my interests, sometimes spontaneously, and sometimes with a lot of intention. Like I'm going to go buy certain books and not others because there's parts of this map I want to understand more because it connects to my entire being, my entire life, my entire worldview. Something else I sought out as far as night goes, and kind of the unconscious and also history, is William Blake. William Blake. Blake gets his own module. And from Blake, kind of conceptions of evil and hell. So that goes back to my first sense of things, intellectual life being horror and existential reckoning. So Blake has been an intentional source of learning for me. I was able to see the Blake exhibits at the Getty in California, and since then I've consumed Blake intentionally and read his poetry intentionally to learn as part of this syllabus. A major conclusion, I suppose, I've come to from just reading and learning is the concept of this kind of eternal up and down, this eternal cycle where history is not linear, but it's like a fluid dynamic. It's just a fluid dynamic. Something that folds on itself, something that is always and forever fluid and changing. And so then my syllabus is also then nonlinear, and it is cyclical, and it evolves and it changes, but I've got very clear, specific topics, clear and specific modules that don't follow linearly. They're just connected like a web, and I plug in content when I see a film, when I read a book, and I will seek out things that have to do with these topics and plug them in, and they expand my sense of the world and they contribute to my worldview. So how I've gone about manifesting this kind of learning is through intentional consumption and spontaneous consumption, as I said. But I'll look at the books that I already have on my shelf and I will connect them to this kind of mind map, especially the dark unconscious. I've got German history here, World War II history, that also inevitably leads to England. And because I live here, because I have an affinity, I've got a small little mini stuff I want to read that includes a book about medieval England. There's a short history of England, and then Empire Land, which is about the colonial projects of England. So that's like a little mini 3 books that I already own that are like a plug-in to that module, the England module. But that's all in service of this bigger sense of meaning I've been trying to make since I was thinking thoughts and had my first philosophical thoughts or self-aware thoughts that I'm in a world that is bewildering and baffling to me, and I've got an optimistic worldview, a creative worldview, but that's come from a deep craving to understand, and my syllabus is just what I am living through and trying to understand. Any inspiration of, oh, I want to know about, Bauhaus or this and that, I'll do it because it's organic. It's where the curiosity is. So if you make something like a syllabus, it would, I suppose my prompt would be, what is at your core? What is the thing that got lodged in you when you were small? What is that deep, burning curiosity to want to touch, to want to know, to want to interact with? And what are the ways in which things are connected to each other? Because these things are connected to each other. And this, I have to say, is like a magical way to live. It does feel divine, because it feels like when you have this energy, when you've got this core, when you go out in the world, things will jump off the page at you, and it feels so intentional. It's hard to think that it isn't intentional. It does feel like your whole life is conspiring to walk you down a path. So I've been shocked at how often I've gone out in the world and there's like a new connection is made to something I just read about or I just watched. Though I'll pass by a museum and it'll be like, that's exactly what. It feels fated. It feels like destiny. So learning as a way of being is a magical way to live when it comes from your inner deep obsession. What is a symbol to you? Clearly, Germany is a symbol of something to me. The Lord of the Rings is a symbol of something. This obsession that I have with the will, the emotional will of the individual and the political will of everything. It's my own will within my body and my own agency in life, the tension of that. It's everything. So the syllabus is everything. It's my emotional curiosity, my intellectual curiosity. It's what makes me happy to be alive, to explore these things. So that's the syllabus, and I'll find something I really want to read or watch and I plug it in into this structure. But it's less about the content and it's more about the structure being webbed instead of linear and being organic and tied into life. So an album I might want to listen to, and every country is so interconnected to everything. Jazz in one country will look very different, sound so different than jazz in another country, and history kind of fractals out. It's beautiful. So that is just a quick little chill video about my syllabus of life and learning. It looks like this. And the specifics change all the time. I'm always just adding things, so it's not really about the specifics. It's just about the way that I'm living, which is a good deal intentional, as well as I allow room for things to manifest and reveal themselves to me. The syllabus reveals itself to a certain degree. Upon our reflection, the syllabus should reveal itself. I will definitely be back with more videos of all kinds and more coffee. I just really wanted to make this one really quickly. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good night if you're going to sleep, if you're not. But otherwise, I wish you a happy holidays. I'll see you again before the holidays probably, but I still wish you happy holidays. And see you soon. Good